Hi, I would like to show you a few things about chords, particularly about how to play them with a good sound. As a preparatory exercise, I would recommend this. You see, you flatten your knuckles, stretch your fingers, curl your fingers and flatten your knuckles. I'll show you a little closer, perhaps you can see better then. Practice that because you need to be able to flatten your knuckles to play chords with a good sound. Now, a good idea is to start off with open strings so that you don't have to worry about your left hand. We'll start off with open strings, D, A and E string, and you start off just by playing the D and A string together. Don't try to play it loud. You get both strings by equally distributing the bow hairs on both strings. So just play two strings together, stop the bow, move over to the A and E string, and when you start playing, flatten your knuckles. That's this. I'll show you again. Move over to the A and E string and flatten your knuckles. Practice that until you have the coordination right. The next step is to do the same thing without stopping the bow. So you do the transition from the lower strings to the higher strings legato. Same thing, flatten your knuckles when you reach the higher strings. Use plenty of time to get used to that. And the next step is actually only to speed it up. So you play the lower two strings shorter and move over to the higher strings sooner. Basically, that already is the technique you need for chords. Now, when you've practiced the technique of flattening your knuckles on open strings, the next step would be to use a chord, but start with an easy one. I would recommend to start with open D string, open A string, and F sharp on the E string. That would be this one. So basically, you build it up the same way. Start on the D and A string, stop the bow, move over to the A and E string, and when you start playing, flatten your knuckles, that's this, and increase the speed of bow. Next step again, do the transition from the lower to the higher strings legato without stopping the bow. And the next step is to speed up the whole movement. Play the lower two strings shorter and move over to the higher strings sooner. Remember to increase the speed of bow. And basically that's chords already. Now when you hear chords which sound as if you're playing three strings at once, actually that's not what's being done. What's being done is exactly the same technique, just so fast that the ear perceives them as one, particularly if the lower string is an open string which sounds longer anyway. That would be this. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just doing it so fast that you don't hear it as two anymore. So basically if you do and you speed up, that's how you get to three-voiced chords. Now with four-voiced chords, it's exactly the same thing. Again, I would recommend an easy one, open G string, open D string, first finger B on the A and second finger G on the E string. So same thing, you start with the two lower strings, move over to the two higher strings, make sure that your bow hairs are distributed equally on the higher strings. And when you start playing, flatten your knuckles and increase the speed of bow. Take plenty of time. Then again, do the transition from the lower strings to the higher strings legato. And then increase the speed of the whole thing. And there again, if you increase the speed fast enough, you will almost hear it as a four-voiced chord. Particularly again, if the lowest note is an open string, that sounds longer anyway. Now I showed you all of this with chords which are very comfortable for the left hand because you're supposed to concentrate on the right hand. Once you can do that, then the principle is the same with complicated, difficult and uncomfortable chords. If you have uncomfortable chords, sort out the left hand first, not worrying about the right hand, so that the left hand knows what to do. And when you can play the left hand, then you organize the right hand and practice the right hand, and then you put the two together. Hope you enjoyed this.